Welcome to Booming Your Bottom Line, a weekly podcast on how to find, serve, and keep local boomer consumers as your customers. If you are a small business owner, then this podcast is for you. Hosted by Mark Hager, CEO of Age in Place Networks, publisher of ageinplace.com, and expert consultant in the boomer consumer industry. And Aaron Murphy, architect, certified aging in place specialist, national speaker, and published author on aging in place. These two small business owners are going to help you learn what you need to know and step by step what you need to do to grow your company through serving the rapidly growing older consumer niche. Now, get ready to supercharge your business.
Hello and welcome to Booming Your Bottom Line. I'm Mark Hager, and with me is my co-host Aaron Murphy. This week we're switching gears to some topics that will help your company get more local exposure, get you more customers, and give you the tools that you need to get them in your sales funnel and draw them in. Now, you're not going to want to miss the next few episodes because we're going to talk about some things that most small businesses need help with. Specifically, your website, search engines, content, social media, and list building. And we're going to boil this down to the basics and give you everything that you need to get your company on the right track, using the internet to market your company, reach new customers, maintain relationships, and grow. It's going to be awesome, and I promise you that you're going to say to yourself, I cannot believe they're giving this to us for free.
You bet, Mark. I'm so excited. You probably never thought as a small business owner you're going to love hearing about this kind of stuff, but you are. This week we're going to start with websites and search engines. Now, a website is an incredibly valuable tool for small businesses and one that's truly underutilized and undervalued by most folks, probably because they don't understand it. Mark's been building websites and doing search engine optimization for local businesses for about 14 years now. Isn't that right, Mark?
Yep, about that long.
Wow. Okay, so I'm not going to take the lead on this one. Mark's going to help you identify what's important, where you need to put your time, how to do it, and how to squeeze the most value out of that. He's going to share with us some of what it is over the next few episodes that you need to be doing. So, Mark, let's get this train out of the station.
All right. So, as Aaron said, we're talking about your website and search engines. You may not know just how important both of these are to your business or how to take advantage of them to help you grow. Well, we're going to get to some of that today, and you're going to get some very actionable stuff that you're going to be able to start working on. So first, let's talk about search engines. Just so you know, I'm going to say Google a lot, but when I say that, I mean search engines in general. Google is just the largest one, and in most cases is responsible for the lion's share of search traffic that comes to small businesses' website, what they get right now.
Right.
Now, I'm going to get really basic, so if you already know a lot of this, just go with me here. Search engines help people find stuff, and there are three things you need to know about search engines to get started. First, Google will most likely be singularly responsible for the majority of traffic to your website right now. There's a chance that other search engines are going to, one-up Google and get bigger than them, but it's not happening anytime soon. Now, you can have a little traffic from Google, or you can have a lot, which translates to more than your competition. It's your choice.
Right. Okay, second is getting ranked well in a search engine or search in general. It's not as difficult as you might think, or other people might have told you that you need to believe it is. You just have to consistently and regularly do certain things to make this happen, or have someone on your team at work do this. If you don't do these things, you're actually kind of sabotaging yourself, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly, you are. Now, finally, Google ranks websites mathematically using very complex algorithms. Now, thankfully for you, I'm not going to zero in on any of the math, other than to give you one very overly simplified formula to help you understand how they work. Now, Here it is. C plus L plus S equals R. Now, here's what that means. C is for content, L is for links, S is for social media, and R is relevance. So you're taking, essentially, ranking the combination of your content, your links, and that includes internal links to other pages on your site, outbound links to other websites, and the inbound links that your website gets from other websites. Your social media links and mentions, that means when people talk about you or you mention your site on social media and they link back down to your website. Okay? Now Google uses all of these and many other indicators to figure out how relevant your website is to what someone is looking for. And this is an ongoing exercise for Google. They have machines turning all day long trying to figure out relevance. So every time you post something new, that new content goes into the equation, and Google uses that as a factor to rank your website.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, and if you guys don't think this is important, Mark and I talk about it every week before we start recording. So, yeah, it's important, and you track it, and that's just a part of business. Now, obviously, you want to be as relevant as possible when people are searching online. One of the absolute best ways to do that and get new traffic to your website is by creating content people want to see.
Yep.
Not only what they're searching for, which is typically problem solving, but also educational content that teaches them something about a situation they may not know of, or enlightens them, or has entertainment value.
Yes, and the new traffic will turn into recurring traffic. Okay, if you keep that exercise up, people will come back. And
right.
It'll turn into leads.
Good point. Yeah. So you're going to create content that solves problems, educates, enlightens people, and maybe even entertains them a little bit. The reason I say that twice is because if you really want to generate more traffic to your website, the content on it cannot just be about you and your products and services. That stuff is important. You know that. It's your baby. You built it. But it's not going to get a lot of people in your door. You need content that Google loves, people love to search for, and that draws them into that next step. We are not going to spend a ton of time right now on creating content because we have a lot of stuff to cover. But that'll probably come in a future segment, probably part of the series, or something we can do offline with you. Since it's vitally important for you to get good rankings for you and your website, we do have a proposal to help you with this, and it's coming up a little later in the episode. All right, Mark, let's move on to your website. In order to rank people well and get them to use it, there's some things that you do need to have. We talked a little bit about this in a previous episode, but let's get into it in a little more detail here. It has to be easy to navigate. That means there's a menu across the top or down the left side so people know how to find your stuff. And that information must be organized well. Mark, one side note, I've been taught through my own website design and my consultants and things, you have about 30 seconds. And if they don't know who they are on your site, they're gone.
Absolutely.
Okay? So if you serve more than one master, like I do at Empowering the Mature Mind, it's very clear. Homeowners and caregivers is a tab. Industry professionals is another tab.
Exactly.
Right? Okay, good.
Exactly. And I'll just add to that, above and beyond the 30 seconds, most small businesses are going to get traffic for a very specific intent, which means someone is looking for, remodeling their bathroom, or they're looking for in-home care, or maybe they have someone who has Alzheimer's and they're looking for activities for them to do. I mean, or even getting their lawn mowed. But
right.
When people, use what's called that long tail search, and they're looking for, bathroom remodeling handicapped,
right.
and they link to a certain page on your website, if they are not instantly finding what they're looking for, what seems relevant to them in their minds, they're hitting the back button and going to find the next guy.
You got it.
So that information, we're going to talk more about content, but that information has to be organized in a way, which is something we're going to talk about here in just a second, so they are instantly getting the answer they need.
Okay.
So that leads us to the next part, actually, and that means that the content has to be easy to read, easy to scan, because people don't read. They just gloss over and kind of look at what's going on the page to see if they think it's relevant to them. And by easy to read, I mean it has to have lots of white space. Any videos or images that you use have to be well placed on the page. It can't interrupt the content. It has to accentuate it. It has to lend to it. The images, need to be nice. They don't have to be perfect, but they need to be nice. And as a side note, they need to be legal. You need to be using images that you purchased or took yourself, because if you're not, you could get in trouble.
Yeah.
The words that you use on the page itself, you need to use short paragraphs, and I'm thinking 2 to 4 sentences a piece. Bulleted lists are fantastic, and what I generally like people to do, what I tell people to do is do a couple of short paragraphs, at the beginning of a page or post that summarizes what you're talking about, and then start moving into a short bulleted list, maybe a quote, another couple of short paragraphs, another bulleted list, and then you finish. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That gives you well-balanced, easy-to-consume content.
Good.
Now, as far as the technical stuff about your web page, and I'm not going to get too much into this, but there's a certain way that you structure, technically, a page that not only makes it easy to read, but also it presents it in a way that search engines like to see. And that is using the proper H1 and H2 tags. H1 is like the big text at the top of your page that says what that page is. And then H2 and below, those are like subheadings in your content.
Right. And Mark, real quick, that's WordPress language, right?
Actually, that's HTML language.
It is.
Yeah.
See? All right. You're over my head again. Okay.
But anybody that does a website, anybody that works for you or builds websites knows about this, okay? And if you use WordPress or some other content management system for your website and you maintain it yourself, it has that built into it. You can go into WordPress and say, I want this to be an H1. I want this to be an H2. So anyway, we're going to move on from it.
Okay.
Also, the proper use of bold and italics. Those mean different things as far as emphasis goes. And the use of quotations. When you're quoting someone, you use a quotation mark and you use italics if you don't have like an inset that does your quotation for you. And when you use bold, that is to emphasize what the page is based on, ideas that emphasize what the page is based on, and plain italics is used to emphasize a particular thought. Okay? So each page and article must be optimized, and by optimized I mean focused on a particular keyword or keyword phrase that people will use to find information about you, your products, or services. Okay, you use a single page or article for a main keyword and a subpage or subarticles for related keywords. Now, I'm going to give you an example because I know a lot of people probably just went, what? So here's the example. Let's say that you have one of your main services is home care services, okay? You would then have that main page of home care services, and it would talk about things, it would talk about home care services in general, and it would be optimized for that keyword phrase, which means using that phrase, home care services, many times throughout the content, not like every other word, but maybe once every other paragraph or whatever. And then you would have subpages that are supporting of home care services. Let's say you would have a page for sitting services. You would have a page for homemaker services. You would have a page for personal care services. And those pages would be optimized for those keywords, and then they would all link back to the main home care services page. That you're essentially setting up a web within your website that optimizes for that home care services.
Okay.
Now, to round it out, you take those same keywords and you build content around them. Okay? Build other content like blog posts. So let's say you have you're optimized for home care services, you're optimized for personal care services because you've got those pages on your website. You then start writing content about even lesser used keyword phrases that support those things. And you link back to those subpages and main page of home care services, and you've essentially built all this big web. And what that says is, one, to the search engines, what that says is we are relevant to home care services and everything that has to do with it. Okay? And for your visitors, they get to see the breadth of not only your experience, but they're also greeted with content when they search for certain phrases. Let's say they're looking for personal care services. They're greeted with either a blog post about some kind of personal care, or they're greeted with that subpage of personal care services, and you have links on those pages and posts that go out to all your other things, so they get to see a well-rounded amount of personal care services and home care services that relate to your company. Now, I know that's a ton, and people's heads are probably spinning, but I'm telling you that if you can follow a process like that, you are going to rank exceptionally well at a local level.
Yeah, and we'll tell you how to get a hold of us at the end, because that obviously is a deep dive at some level. We just touched on it. But essentially, you're building a web of related information that's going to help your visitors when they visit your site, and it's going to help Google love you.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on. You do need to have a fast website. Some of your ranking is based on how fast your site loads. And you know people's attention span, right? Have you been on your phone and watched it grind on a 2G connection and you go, screw it, I'm out of here, right? Okay, so do away with Flash or other animations, images that don't add value to your goals, plugins you don't need. That's a back of house thing we can talk about later. Essentially anything that could slow your site down. And very, very important, you need to be hosting your site with a reputable web hosting company. And finally, nowadays, it's got to be mobile friendly, guys. Yep. I don't care if you're 68 or you're 14. You're either on a phone or a tablet. You're not at your tower at work, right? I mean, so yeah, it's an on-the-go thing, and it has to be capable of that. So no reason nowadays not to support mobile devices. If you're not, you're missing out on a very large percentage of visitors from your search. It's hurting your business, so fix that if your site doesn't have mobile-friendly design.
Absolutely. Now, knowing all of this, you're probably thinking you likely need to do work on your website and get it to the point where it's actually starts to pay you back in phone calls and customers.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah. Now, this is where I always have trouble talking to business owners because, you know, most often they understand and accept a good bit of what I teach them about, you know, search and findability and, you know, content and stuff like that, what they need to do for their website. But the issue comes in when you start talking about getting the work done. In my experience, there are typically three camps of people, okay, business people. One group can't or doesn't want to pay someone else to do their website and search engine optimization.
Yeah.
This is probably about 60% of the people. The second doesn't mind paying some, but is generally shocked when I tell them how much it costs. This group is almost 40%, maybe 39.9%. When they find out about it, about 20% of them revert back to group one to where they don't want to pay for it because it costs money. Now the third group, they get it. They don't really care how much it costs because they understand how important it is, and they just do it. And that's like 0.1%. Wow. Now, if you're willing to pay someone to do the work for you, then my advice is to start asking around. You know, find a reputable web company to do it for you. Look at websites of other businesses. They don't even have to be in your niche, but look at websites at other businesses in your town that meet some of the criteria that we've talked about, and find out who built their website. And then call the owner of the company, not of the web design company, but the company whose website you've looked at, and ask them how they like the service. How has it been effective? You know, if they're satisfied, so forth and so on.
Okay.
Now, I've been working on websites since before the internet was cool, and I know there are a lot of web design companies out there that are trustworthy. You know, there's a lot that aren't, and it's like anything else. Getting a referral for that is so important, okay? Because there's a lot of people who are not going to be trustworthy.
Right.
And if you have questions and would like to talk about maybe the kind of questions that you should ask a company, you know, a web design company, or have other questions about doing your website, then you can contact smallbusiness@ageandplace.com, and I'll see if I can get you going in the right direction.
Cool. All right, so the truth is, if you don't pay someone that knows what they're doing, you're going to be less happy with how it all plays out. Everybody knows the term, you get what you pay for. Not that you can't do this, okay? Honestly, with today's tools and technology, you can. The problem comes with the time commitment it takes to get it up and running like it should be. And it takes a fair bit of time. And my guess, if you're the owner of your business, you got other things to worry about. So statistically, you're probably going to be a part of that 60 to 80%. I know it's a gross generalization, but for the sake of argument, let's say you are. What does all this mean for you? There are ways you can do it yourself properly. There's several, in fact. The problem is there's no way to explain that in 15 minutes. So we're probably already over that. This was a deep dive in some senses, so I'd rather wrap it up and just let you know that, the podcast is all about touching on subject matter that matters to you.
Right. So in light of that, we're going to propose something to you. If you really want to know how to get your website where it needs to be, have it start ranking in search, and have content to help make all that happen, then I want you to let us know.
Yeah.
If it is something you want, we will teach you how to do it step by step, the right way. But we cannot do that. We can't go through the exercise of creating all those resources without enough interest from people. So if you're interested, again, send an email to smallbusiness@agentplace.com. Or you can also go to agentplace.com. I want to know how. All right, we've set up a form there that you can fill out, and just let us know how much time you think you would be willing to dedicate to doing this yourself, how much you think the training would be worth to you, and your email address. Now, if we can get 50 people who can commit to it, then we'll do the training for you. And I promise it'll be worth your while. But we've got to get the people to commit to it. So with that, I think we're going to stop today. We appreciate everyone tuning in. Make sure that you come back next week where we're going to take a deep dive into creating content and the right ways to use social media for your business. Now, if you find the podcast valuable, I just ask that you please let us know. You can email us again at smallbusiness@agentplace.com. And when you do, let us know how we're doing. Let us know if there's other things you'd like to hear about or even roadblocks that you might be running into.
Yeah, very good. And also, don't forget to go to iTunes, search for Booming Your Bottom Line. And if you would, leave us a 5-star review if you think we're doing a good job. This encourages us to keep doing this, keep helping you grow your business, and the rating helps other people find us. So if you haven't yet, you're going to want to sign up for the newsletter at agentplace.com/small business. The past week, we gave everyone who has signed up a whole set of bonus tips on becoming the local expert, which is what we talked about last week. We're going to keep doing that, okay? So if you want the extra info, we can't get into every 15-minute podcast, give or take, plus the articles, notices about upcoming projects, webinars, seminars, all that stuff we do. Go subscribe there again, ageinplace.com/small business. And finally, if you're on Twitter, you can follow us at agentplacepros, and for me, at Aaron D. Murphy. Have a great rest of the week, everybody. Be well, be blessed, and boom your bottom line.
Thanks so much for listening to Booming Your Bottom Line with Mark Hager and Aaron Murphy. To learn more about starting, building, and growing a local business that profits in the older consumer niche, just visit the website at agentplace.com/small business. And don't forget to sign up for the newsletter while you're there. If you'd like to get in contact with us, you can email us at smallbusiness@agentplace.com. Fill out the contact form on the website or give us a ring at 865-236-1247. Booming Your Bottom Line is a joint venture of agentplace.com and empowering the mature mind.